Some of these children are born at 5.5 months, they're like this. They don't look human. They're keeping them there for over 2.5 to 3 years in the incubator and trying to save this child. This is not concern for life. This is a wrong kind of business. I'm sorry, I'm saying this, but I think it's completely wrong. Because when you know clearly this person is never going to be a full-fledged human being and going to suffer eternally and everybody around them are going to suffer because of this, you're trying to just go against nature and do something. Let's say a child came without a head or half a head or something. Is it possible for this child to live even a reasonable life? If not a spectacular life, even a reasonable life, is it possible? This is an educated call you have to take. This should not be about, because it's my child at any cost, it must survive. You know, Duryodhana was born like this. Do you know this? Duryodhana she delivered just a meatball without a form. Then the story goes like this.
Sadhguru, majority of the people who fall sick, it's primarily because they led a life which would definitely land them in trouble. But thousands of children are born in this country, like any other part of the world, with cardiac problem, with cancer, all kinds of problems. It is not their fault. Why it happens? It shouldn't have happened.
You know, 6 million Toyota cars were withdrawn last year for defective whatever and about 9 million General Motors withdrawn for ignition problems.
It's a manufacturing defect.
Only problem is you can't withdraw them. Actually, nature is trying to withdraw them. We are not allowing it. There was a time we would allow the nature to withdraw. Yes? All the manufacturing defects that came, 100, 200 years ago, we would allow the nature to withdraw. By the time children are 4, only the fittest would survive, rest would go. Now we don't allow them to withdraw, so we need a whole lot of things to run the defective cars. I know I'm putting it so blatantly, but you need to understand, the physical existence is mechanical. Whether you like it or you don't like it, probably all kinds of sensitivities and emotions are there about this my physical body. But when they come to you, you strip them down and treat them like a machine, isn't it? Complex, sophisticated, but still mechanical, isn't it?
Yes.
There are other aspects to it, but fundamentally mechanical. Anything mechanical, anything physical, there is never something called as perfection to it. It is a constant work in progress. You can improve it and improve it and improve it. What we call as evolutionary thing is just that. Now, the parents, the two machines which produce this small machine,
Yes.
okay? What condition are they in? This is also an issue which we have not taken care of. There is a lot to be said which is controversial about this, but essentially this idea that everybody must have children has to go. Yeah, I know I'm getting into trouble. But we are not seeing humanity as a future possibility, we are just seeing it as a regressive way of something that we can extend into future of our own, a footprint. Right now that's a problem. Our identification with the body is so strong, the physical body is so strong, we are unable to think beyond our biological identity. Once you're not able to think beyond your biological identity, the very nature of being human, the immensity of being human is constrained and constipated into a very small process. In this process, there are problems. In the ancient past, they handled this in many different ways which are absolutely, utterly controversial today and can never be brought back into this society, but they did handle things in a completely different way. They're bred carefully, which is very important. We are thinking about… when it comes to animal husbandry, we are thinking of breeding right. As human beings, why are we not thinking of breeding right? Because we're too identified with our own bodies. Mine is more important than what's right, and the level of suffering that you bring into this fresh life, you know, you see it every day.
Yes.
A lot of people go through moral dilemmas. Like you said, you don't do this, you must do that, you have all these commandments. And sometimes I feel certain moral dilemmas are really, really very difficult moral dilemmas. Like for example, you talked about genetics. And if you think about today, young couples who, have pregnancy tests and they find out that the child has a genetic defect.
That means they're female?
No, what I'm saying is, when they discover that the baby has a genetic defect, then they are at this
No,
moral…
I'm just trying to lighten the subject.
I know, but this is something which is quite a serious moral dilemma which lot of young couples, grapple with. Like for instance, some couples say that, should we bring this child into the world because it will suffer for the rest of its life. Even they feel selfish and say, we will suffer for the rest of our lives bringing this child with this genetic defect into the world. And others feel, no, this is God's wish that this child should be born. Now, obviously there is no right or wrong in this, taking this decision. But a lot of this moral dilemma comes from this feeling that if we do this, it is wrong, if we do that, it is right. And they're going by moral tenets of society. How does one figure this out, this moral dilemma? What is your advice to such young couples?
Yeah, I didn't know it's a popular question. There are many aspects to your question. First of all, this God deciding. I have a very nasty joke, I'm trying to make it little lighter. About God deciding about your child. Those who wish to have children, I want you to at least get this much figured out. It's your desires which make a child, not God. Okay? This much fundamental, you must figure it out. And you can even time it when you want, so obviously it's you, right? And suppose it so happens that child is not coming out normal, but who is to decide what is normal? Suppose all of us didn't have one leg, we would think one leg is quite normal. Yes or no? All of us had only one leg. Would we not think one leg is quite normal, and suppose one of these ladies had two-legged baby, we would think he's a freak. So, we need to kind of undo ourselves a little bit to not jump into conclusions as to what is normal, what is not normal. Anybody who doesn't look like you is abnormal. A lot of people think I'm abnormal. I think you're abnormal because you don't have a beard. Every man is supposed to have it. Some of you are showing little samples. So what is normal, not normal, is a very unnecessary thing to call for. Unless we see something which is congenitally in such a state, the child is going to suffer immensely because of this, you must understand, with all the other creatures on this planet, If they are not fit to live, they will not live. You have never seen in nature an animal without legs or this or that surviving. In the very first few days it'll go. It will not survive. Well, because we are in a more protected atmosphere, we will make our children survive no matter what. But that no matter what also has to be toned down a little bit. If it is just to keep the medical economy going, somehow, somebody took me into this, what do you call them? All these incubators and what do you call that? Early born, early…
Yeah, early natal centers, the prenatal and natal…
Yeah. Some of these children are born at 5.5 months, they're like this. They don't look human. They're keeping them there for over 2.5 to 3 years in the incubator and trying to save this child. This is not concern for life. This is a wrong kind of business. I'm sorry, I'm saying this, but I think it's completely wrong, because when you know clearly this person is never going to be a full-fledged human being and going to suffer eternally and everybody around them are going to suffer because of this, you're trying to just go against nature and do something. But how to take this call? There must be how much intervention to do, there must be some kind of control on this. At any cost you want to keep them alive. We know today we have enough technology, even if somebody is dead, we can have their heart beating and prove they're alive for another 10 years if we want. What is the point of this kind of technology? There is no sense to this. So about taking this call, it's a sensitive thing, it's not a joke. For the parents, it's not easy. But at the same time, I want you, all of you, all of you who clapped, who are pregnant right now, you must take this call. You must understand, in this vast cosmos, this very solar system is a tiny speck. In that tiny speck, planet Earth is a microspeck. In that microspeck, Bengaluru is a super microspeck. In that, you are a big man. This is a serious problem. The problem is we think too much of ourselves. See, in the process of generating life, this is all coming because we are heavily identified with our own physical forms. Physical body is a mechanism. Because we have a certain level of thought and emotion and we've invested that entire thought and emotion in our biology, we think this is something too much. This is just a mechanism. If you don't understand this, when you get sick, if you go to the doctor, doctor opens up this, opens up that, whatever you think is impossible, he will do all that to you. Because he is looking at you like how your car mechanic would look at the car. What is working, what is not working, what to replace, Kiran is growing it for you. So, this is just a mechanism. This mechanism, in the manufacturing process itself, sometimes can go wrong. When it goes wrong, it doesn't matter how much emotion we have invested, we must bow down to that and say, okay, it didn't go well. We must see, how else? But at any cost, because this is my child, at any cost it must survive. This will create a very unhealthy atmosphere in the world and it'll bring much pain to you, much suffering to you, more than you to this unborn child. Trying to put this life through this world without the necessary faculties, without the necessary means to survive by themselves, it's not going to be easy for that life. Forget about our convenience and inconvenience. For that life, it is not good. So, you have morality, integrity, everything. From this, you take this stance. Is this going to be good for that life or no? From this, you must take a stance. It may sound cruel to you, I may sound very irreligious to you, irreverent towards life, But if you have any reverence for life, you must ensure that life means something, it is a full-fledged unit. Life is a complete life, it is not a half-life. Life means it must be able to stand upon its own strength and make things happen for itself. Maybe not all of us are equally competent, but everyone is competent to live their life. This much competence must be there. This is how nature would be. Because we have created our own ecosystems of cities and medical industries and everything, we can go another 15–20%. Don't stretch it to 100%. Somehow with 10 tubes stuck into my child, I will make him live for 100 years. This is inhuman. This is totally inhuman because this is not good for that life, it's a torture. So, you have to take that call, however hard it is. Is there some morality involved in this? No morality involved in this. It is just a practical sense of how to do life. Is it possible for this child, let's say a child came without a head or half a head or something, is it possible for this child to live even a reasonable life? If not a spectacular life, even a reasonable life, is it possible? This is an educated call you have to take. This should not be about, because it's my child, at any cost, it must survive. You know, Duryodhana was born like this. Do you know this? Duryodhana she delivered just a meatball without a form. Then the story goes like this, they cut it into 100 pieces and put it into some kind of… what are the solutions, you must tell me?
Yeah.
Some amino acids and proteins and whatever. So each one became one child, and what trouble?